In his only varsity season at Arizona State, Rick Monday was named National Player of the Year by the Sporting News, while helping lead the Sun Devils to the 1965 national title. He hit .359 that season with a then school record 11 home runs and blasted 2 more home runs during the College World Series to earn all CWS team honors. He was the #1 overall pick by the Kansas City A's in the first ever MLB amateur draft, and Arizona State retired his number in 1997.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Can we go off script right away?
Sure.
And some of the guys have said that. From a collegiate standpoint, I want to take my hat off to all of you, because I believe very strongly that the pathway to Major League Baseball is through the collegiate ranks. Some are fortunate to sign out of high school. Those of us that have participated in collegiate baseball understand the importance of it. And what you are doing here and what you have done in the recent past is to really touch the heartbeat of what is happening around our country with our youth. Because when I was first contacted about, well, are you going to sign? Because when I came up in high school, you could sign with any club that you wanted to. So I was negotiating with about 8 different teams. And I was also talking about 6 or 8 different universities that I may go to. And Tommy Lasorda at the time was a coach for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and there was a series of tryouts. The Dodgers had a brilliant idea is that those that they were trying to sign, what they wound up doing is that they sent us a letter. We would like for you to try out for a Dodger rookie team. So there was a series of tryouts over a 3-weekend period. And they took the final 21 guys, and they had a team. Wonderful concept, because now they could watch the guys they're thinking about signing and see how they operate under game conditions. Well, Tommy had a contract in front of my mother 3 different times. And as a single parent, the first number was very, very attractive. And she put the pen down and said, no. Rick's 17, just out of high school. He's going to get a college education. Tommy took the contract back, crossed that number out, put another number in. My mother had pen in hand the second time. And she put the pen down and said, no. His future is in my hands right now because I can either sign or not sign. He's going to go to college. Tommy then took the contract back for the 3rd time and put a number on the contract that my mother would have had to work for years in order to reach that same amount. She put the pen down and said, I will not discount his future. The wisest decision that a person could have made. So college baseball has contributed to my life. And what you are doing is that you are touching the lives of people that you don't even know about yet, that are going to hear about Lubbock, Texas. They're going to hear about this wonderful staff that you've been able to put together and how you touch people. And the bottom line is that our communities around this great country of ours are going to prosper, as is college baseball. And I, for one of many that are here, want to thank you because you have really put the spotlight on the important part. Because college baseball is the beginning of what is going to be there. And at some point in time, someone handed us the baton. We hope that we pass the baton in a better situation. You people are passing the baton in a wonderful situation, and to all of you, congratulations and thank you.
I've got written down here at the very bottom, I want to thank you for being such an ambassador for college baseball. So I appreciate you reading over my
I
shoulder.
told you to go off script.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
It comes down to the very thing.
That doesn't mean we're done here, though. You've still got some questions.
Well, that's your opinion that we're not done yet.
All right. Well, I want you to tell me about Bobby Winkles. He was in our first induction class in 2006, and your coach.
What makes me proud is the fact that my wife Barbara Lee and I were at Arizona State University about a little over a month ago. And they celebrated with a retro uniform that we happened to wear in 1965. It was not the flannel, it was a much more comfortable uniform that they wore this year. But the nice thing is there were about 7 or 8 teammates that we had from that College World Championship team. We had a pretty good team. We went 58 wins and 4 losses, or make 54 wins and 8 losses, including postseason play with the regionals and then with the College World Series. And we happened to win it. But the nice thing is that the memories and the respect and I think the friendship that still remains in place. But Bobby Winkles made a promise, because during that time that I was playing for the College World, or make that for the Dodger rookie team, Bobby Winkles came out, because again, I could talk to about 8 different teams as I was. The Pittsburgh Pirates realized that I was not going to sign with them. The Pirates called Coach Winkles and said, look, you might want to keep your eye on this guy out of Santa Monica, California. We're not going to be able to sign him. It was before the draft. So Coach Winkles came out to watch me play a game. And again, Tommy Lasorda was trying to sign me. And after the game, my mother was there. She sat next to Coach Winkles, and after the game, she said, Rick, you need to listen to this man. And I did. I talked to him a month ago, and we were hoping that he was going to be able to travel. Unfortunately, he cannot. And I thanked him for a lot of things. And we talk not that often, but we talk a great deal. He made a promise to my mother that night. He said, Mrs. Monday, if Rick comes to Arizona State University, we will take very good care of him. He lived up to that and more. And it was really a comment and a promise that he made to every one of the families of those that he had come to Arizona State. Yes, he wanted a good program. But more important than that, he wanted people who would go back and contribute to their communities, that understood is that, we're passing the baton, whether it be to somebody else that may play professional baseball or may not play professional baseball. We're part of a team. It's a unique kind of a situation when you have those people together. That man lived up to his word, and he taught us all, and he was a difficult taskmaster, but he taught us all that character is important and responsibility is important, and we are all in charge of our actions. And from that moment on, you move forward and things go very well. And there are people that, as we look out through all of our lives, that we can say very fortunately is that person or that group of people, thank God they were in my life. And that's the way that I feel, I've always felt about Coach Winkles.
One of your teammates, Sal Bando, you mentioned several guys. That ball club was outstanding. You win a College World Series. Sal Bando, a previous inductee. What are your memories of Omaha?
Really kind of overwhelming, the biggest stage that we had, and then the draft took place while we were in Omaha, and nobody really understood. You and I have talked about this before. No one really understood how the draft was going to work. All we knew was going to be in ascending order. Kansas City A's at the time had the worst record. They were the worst team. So there was opportunities to really kind of move forward much more rapidly with that organization, maybe some of the other ones. But we were sitting, those of us, we were in uniform, sitting down the right field line at Rosenblatt Stadium, waiting for a game that was currently being played to end so we could play our game that night. And the phone calls started, and United Press International started, and the ticker tape started. It was not social media. It was not it was not television. The College World Series was not being televised. I don't even know if it was being broadcast on radio at the time. But here come the reporters. And Coach Winkles said to Sal Bando and Duffy Dyer, who also was there were 5 guys off that team that made it to the major league level. I think there were about 11 guys that were actually drafted. We had a very good team. And he said, gentlemen, if you'll just wait for us to really complete our game tonight. Because for most of the guys, it was really a wonderful situation. Hey, Sal, you were drafted. Hey, Rick, you were taking the #1 pick. And every year in the College World Series, I understand what happens with that #1 pick. Because I smile, they're really on the road to a wonderful time. Because I remember the first time I saw a major league game. These magical people wearing uniforms were on this just mystical green carpet, playing a game that most of us grew up loving and intrigued by it and wondering, could we do that? And from my Pony League coach, Joe Misprinter, who at 14 years of age told me, he said, would you like to play professional baseball? It's like asking a 6-year-old, would you like to go in a candy store and spend an afternoon? Absolutely. But when you get to those particular points, and then when the #1 draft comes along, I understand what's going to happen with the #1, the #2, the #3. Because when they finally get the chance to go ahead and start their dream, their path, is if they're a pitcher or a hitter. If you're the pitcher, if you strike out 5? What do you strike out 6 or 7 or 10 if you're the number one guy? If you're the hitter, if you hit 2 home runs, or if you get 2 hits in a game, why didn't you not have 3 or 4 because somebody else did and they were drafted lower before that? So I understand what's going on. And the only thing that I can do from advice is to be the person that got you drafted wherever that position may be. There's talent there and it's recognized. Don't try and be the don't try and be the person that other people may put, I think, the plateau on. Be the person that you are inside. And that's not always easy because there's a lot of people in the periphery that want to make you the player that they envision you to be.
It must be a tremendous source of pride for you to know that you guys were the first Arizona State team to win a national championship, and now, in many respects, they're one of college baseball's blue bloods.
Yeah, and they've got a new coach, Tracy Smith. We've spent some time with him, and we've been in his office and understand and met his family, and they're back on the right road because it's about relationships, and it's also about having a program. And the fact that I happen to be the 11th member of Arizona State alumni to be inducted into your College Baseball Hall of Fame, that's something that's important, not just to me, it's important for a program that I feel very passionate about. And to have that area going and to go around the stadium and Coach Smith say, this is what we are doing in bringing back the past, because without the past and recognizing it, what is your future? I want to be able to pick up the phone and say, look, if you're thinking about going to Arizona State or somewhere else, do you have 5 minutes? Because I want to convince that players that Arizona State is the place to be, is the program to be a part of, and that at some point in time, I want that player to pass the baton on to the next generation.
Now, you get to go to work every day as a broadcaster for the Dodgers, and this year we're obviously celebrating the most famous Fordham outfielder in history, Mr. Vin Scully. Have you ever got to reflect on college baseball with him? I know he doesn't talk about himself much, but has he ever gotten into?
He does not talk about himself because he has great humility.
Yeah.
First of all, he owns the language.
Oh.
When you talk to Vin, you think English is like your 5th or 6th language. I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's true.
His ability for recall is amazing. But when you talk to Vin, I try to put in perspective because, what was it, a couple of months ago, Tom Verducci wrote an article about Vin in Sports Illustrated. And one of the things that I told Tom, and I have not read it, I've been told, Tom asked me, he said, well, you grew up in Southern California. I said, yes. And when we got into my mother's car, and she was a single parent again, we would turn on the radio, and we listened to Vin Scully and the late Jerry Doggett do the broadcast. So they were our friends. They were in our car. They were in our home doing the television. And then to play, I really believe that even though that I had played 6 years in the American League, when I went to the Cubs and played in the National League, and then we played against the Dodgers, I really truly believe that when my mother finally heard Vin Scully announce the name of her son in playing on the Dodger Stadium carpet, I think it's when it really dawned on my mom, hey, my son's in the major leagues because I just heard Vin Scully mention my son's name. And for me to sit down, and when I first joined the club, I've got this guy that, I'll be honest with you, it's not my first rodeo, but when I sat down next to Vin Scully and I'm listening to him do a broadcast, I'm going, oh my God, I hope this inning takes a long time because it's my turn after this inning, and oh my goodness. And I'm thinking, I hope he leaves the booth because I don't want him to hear what I'm going to do after this. But he is one of the most humble people, and obviously he's accomplished things that are way beyond even imagine what he has done. Because for Vin Scully, it's never been work that he has done. It's always been love. And I think if you're looking at it from a truly objective standpoint, probably the most, not just recognized, but probably the most cherished Dodgers, because he has brought the game to millions and millions of people.
Well, please tell him his Lubbock, Texas fan club said hello, and give him our best wishes and congratulations to you.
And thank all of you again, because this is where it starts, and you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Rick Monday. Thanks for saying.